Greetings and welcome back to the channel. Well, this is looking good. Nothing beat the natural light. This is looking good. There's no sun, but it's still bright. So, I'm coming to you this morning to talk about. There's a thing they call migrant crisis. They're calling it migrant crisis, but I would like to call it modern day slavery. You see, when you check some of these clips, they have news clips. Actually, I'm gonna play you a clip. Maybe at the end. Yes, at the end. But let me speak on this a little bit. This migrant crisis and the way it is on the Mediterranean and how people leaving their countries and dying on land and at sea. So, countable people dying coming across the desert through Libya to get to Tunisia, to get to Europe. And another countless dying in the waters coming over from Tunisia or those other North African countries into Italy and Greece and other part of Europe. I see this as a voluntary slavery. Volunteering yourself to become a slave. But it's not just the fault of the African. It's also Europe and America is equally or more responsible for what is happening. So I'm gonna try and play you a clip. Well, I will play you a clip on the migrant crisis coming to Europe from Africa. And the other migrant crisis that the people them not really talk about, but it's very bad or even worse, is the other migrant crisis coming from South America to what they call the United States of America, which is North America. That migrant crisis is one of the worst. And America plays such a part where when that area of the world wanted to develop, sorry about the shaking of the cameras because I'm walking. When that area of the planet wanted to develop, South America, North America, or what they call the United States of America, would not allow it to happen. They do the same thing Europe do to Africa. You got coups and assassination and destabilization. So I'm gonna look and get a clip of that type of migration as well. So make this into maybe a two-part video where I play the migrant crisis coming from Africa to Europe, and I also find something with the crisis coming from South America to North America, because anywhere the crisis, I realize that anyway black people is on the planet, we have a problem. Everywhere we go on the planet, we have a problem. And the problem is sometimes self-inflicted, number one. But number two is external hands. People from outside that don't want to see Africa and Africans that is at home and abroad excel and grow and strive. They want you to forever be depending on them for sustenance. If they have allow ones and ones to find them own way, I don't think we'll have this problem. If they just leave you alone and I alone to make your way, shouldn't have this problem. So Anyway, watch this clip and see what you think. And don't forget to subscribe. So far, having like 10% subscription, but we would like to make it 20 or even 30%. Subscription is very important, so don't forget to subscribe and like. Give thanks.
Dinghy boats form a steady line as they approach the coast of Lampedusa after a journey across the Mediterranean Sea. The island is the first port of call for many people fleeing from northern Africa as they attempt to make their way further into Europe. But the tiny isle is overwhelmed by recent arrivals. Over the course of 24 hours, around 6,800 migrants disembarked from 120 boats. That's a few hundred people more than Lampedusa's full-time population.
We had a big increase of the arrivals of migrants this summer. We are more or less with the numbers we had in 2016, which was an exceptional year. What seems to be a bit different is that now we do have a different government, more right-wing, more anti-migration.
Giorgia Meloni had made curbing immigration a centrepiece of her election campaign 1 year ago, previously calling for a physical blockade to prevent boats from leaving African shores. And as migrants head further north into Europe, leaders are pressuring Meloni to respect EU asylum rules. Germany says it will no longer voluntarily accept refugees coming from Italy.
Out of over 12,400 takeover requests to Italy this year, 10 transfers have taken place. So for now, we will no longer be sending our teams to Italy to conduct interviews.
Italian authorities say its reception centres are overcrowded, and that part of the reason for the increase was a bottleneck in Tunisia's ports, where smugglers were prevented from launching boats for several days because of the rough seas. For now, in an attempt to ease overcrowding, hundreds of migrants are being transferred to Sicily.
Tiny Italian island in the Mediterranean Sea is in turmoil. It's called the island of Lampedusa. It is an island of about 6,000 residents. This week, its population more than doubled. In fact, it happened in a day. About 7,000 asylum seekers landed on the island. Let me repeat, this is more than their entire population. These immigrants have been arriving from Africa on dilapidated boats. Now, Lampedusa has always been one of the first stops for migrants, but it's not equipped to handle these numbers. Its migrant reception center can house 400 people. And you know how many landed? 7,000. The government of Italy swung into action. Some of these people were sent to Sicily, but this is a temporary solution. Migrant crossings are already double of what they were at this time last year. And the recent crises in Africa, from the coups to the natural disasters, are bound to increase migration further. Here's our report.
Starting on early Tuesday morning, a wave of migrants began landing in Italy. They arrived by the thousands, in hundreds of ramshackle boats. They took off from northern Africa and disembarked on the tiny island of Lampedusa. Within 24 hours, about 7,000 migrants landed on the island, an island of about 6,000 permanent residents. Obviously, it wasn't equipped to deal with such numbers. Their migrant reception center is operated by the Italian Red Cross. It was built to accommodate 400 people.
The situation is complicated, and as the Italian Red Cross, we are trying to continue to guarantee with great effort basic services to the people we are assisting.
Some migrants tried to leave the reception center after a fight reportedly broke out.
10 years ago, the deadliest shipwreck in the Mediterranean since the turn of the century. 368 migrants losing their lives off the coast of the small Italian island of Lampedusa. Since the 1990s, Lampedusa and the whole of the rest of Sicily further north have been the preferred entry points for people attempting the crossing from the African mainland, and it remains the case. On the 3rd of October 2013, though, a trawler which was in a very poor condition and extremely overcrowded with 500 people on board overturned. The fishermen and Coast Guard only managed to save 155 of the passengers, mostly Eritreans and Ethiopians.
We were the first to save anyone. We were near the port, spending the night on our boat. We heard screams and we rushed to see what was going on.
They were more like whispered cries, not screams. It seemed far off and we weren't sure what to do.
They seemed so far away, but on the off chance we set out and found a terrible situation. 150 to 200 people in the water.
At the time, the tragedy was the first on such a huge scale. The whole of Europe left in shock as European leaders pledged that such an event would never happen again. Since then, of course, as you know, arrivals on Lampedusa continue. And there have been many other shipwrecks in the Mediterranean, some even more deadly. But 10 years on, what has become of the survivors of the first major incident? Has anything changed on the island? And is Europe really doing anything to prevent repeats? Natalia Mendoza, Danilo Arnone and Marie Penetrat revisit Lampedusa for France 24.
Rescued at sea by Italian coastguards, these survivors are carrying the only belongings they have. Wearing winter coats despite the hot summer temperatures. For them, the port of Lampedusa is the end of a very long journey. But many others were not lucky enough to reach the Italian coast.
Just want to say thanks to all those who subscribe. And for those who didn't subscribe, thank you for watching.